Hello there, and welcome to Mysteries of Earth. Imagine standing on a mountaintop at dawn. The world below stretches endlessly, forests breathing mist, rivers winding like veins across a vast body, oceans pulsing with tides as if in rhythm with a hidden heartbeat. In that quiet moment, a question rises like the morning sun. Could Earth itself be alive? It sounds poetic, perhaps even mythical. For centuries, humans have called Earth Mother, revered her as Gaia, and sung of her in sacred hymns. But today, the question returns not as a whisper of folklore, but as a profound puzzle, one that blends ancient intuition with modern science. What if Earth is not just a stage where life plays out, but a living participant in the story? The scientific name for this daring idea is the Gaia Hypothesis. First proposed in the 1970s by chemist James Lovelock, later refined with the insights of microbiologist Lynn Margulis. Gaia theory suggests that Earth behaves like a self-regulating organism. It doesn't mean that mountains have thoughts or oceans whisper secrets. Rather, it suggests that Earth's systems, air, water, soil, and the countless species that inhabit them, interact in such a tightly woven balance that the planet itself might function as a single, living entity. Take oxygen, for example. Our atmosphere is finely tuned, about 21% oxygen, the sweet spot for breathing and burning without spiraling into chaos. Too much oxygen, and wildfires would consume the land. Too little, and complex life could not survive. Yet somehow, over billions of years, Earth has maintained this delicate balance. Is that mere coincidence? Or is it evidence of a planet quietly regulating itself, just as your body keeps your temperature, heartbeat, and chemistry stable? But here lies the tension. Many scientists dismiss the idea as poetic exaggeration. To them, Earth is not alive. It is a rock, a stage. These myths were not simply superstition. They were reflections of an intuition that the world itself breathes, responds, and holds us within a larger whole. Could it be that science, after centuries of reducing the Earth to mechanics, is circling back toward this ancient knowing? Imagine Earth through this lens, not as a cold sphere of rock orbiting a star, but as a dynamic body with circulatory systems, lungs, and even something akin to a nervous network. The forests are lungs, exhaling oxygen and inhaling carbon dioxide. The rivers are veins, pulsing with nutrients and life. The atmosphere is skin, thin and fragile, shielding us from cosmic harm. And the vast web of microorganisms beneath the soil, the fungi, bacteria, and unseen roots, could be the neural threads of a planetary mind. Is it truly so far-fetched to wonder if the sum of these systems might form something greater than the parts? After all, no single cell in your body knows it is part of you. Yet together, they create a consciousness capable of asking this very question. Could the same be true of Earth? Still, the skeptics persist. They ask, if Earth is alive, where is its mind? Where are its thoughts, its intentions? Without a brain, how can a planet be conscious? But perhaps this is the wrong question. Does life always require a brain? Does awareness always wear the face we recognize? When we search for planetary consciousness, maybe we are looking through the narrow lens of human experience. If Earth thinks, it may not think like us. Its awareness could be slower, more diffused, a vast intelligence stretched across oceans and skies, taking centuries to breathe in and out. Could we even recognize such a mind if it exists? Science may hesitate, but philosophy leans closer. The Gaia Hypothesis forces us to reimagine our relationship with the world. If Earth is alive, then everything we do, to the forests, the oceans, the air, is not happening to an it, but to a being. Pollution becomes harm. Extraction becomes wounding. Harmony becomes healing. And here lies the haunting possibility. If Earth is alive, then perhaps it is not indifferent. Perhaps it responds. When climates shift, when ecosystems collapse, when species vanish, are these not merely accidents, but symptoms of a body under stress? Could the storms, the droughts, the rising seas be signals, like fevers and coughs, of a planet struggling to restore balance? The question echoes, unsettling yet irresistible: is Earth alive? And if so, what role do we play in its body? Are we cells working for its health or parasites gnawing at its core? These are not just mystical musings, they are questions of survival. For if Earth is alive, then its health determines ours. Its balance is not optional, it is the condition for everything we are. As we close this first chapter, the mystery only deepens. We stand at the edge of two visions, one of Earth as a silent rock drifting in the void, the other of Earth as a living, breathing being, ancient and vast. And so we are left with the opening question, sharper than before. Could Earth itself be alive, or are we merely projecting our own consciousness onto stone and soil? The answer, for now, lies hidden. But to chase it, we must journey further, into the myths of the past, the science of ecosystems, and the whispers of anomalies that defy easy explanation. Because if Earth is alive, what does she remember? And what might she be trying to tell us? Earth's body, the skin, the breath, the pulse. If Earth were alive, how would we recognize her body? What organs would she have? What systems would keep her alive? The ancients spoke of Earth as a mother, but what if that metaphor was more literal than we've dared to believe? Imagine the planet not as dead rock, but as flesh, bone, and breath on a scale so immense we can barely comprehend it. Look closer. Her structure is not unlike our own. Beneath our feet lies the restless dance of tectonic plates. They grind, collide, and then drift across a molten mantle like bones shifting beneath living skin. These plates give Earth its skeleton, mountain ranges thrust up like ribs, deep trenches carved like joints under stress. Earthquakes and volcanoes are not random violence, but the groaning and flexing of a planet with bones that move. Above this skeleton lies the atmosphere, thin and fragile as skin. It shields Earth from deadly cosmic radiation, regulates temperature, and allows the exchange of gases essential for life. We breathe it in, moment after moment. But have you ever wondered, what if this atmosphere is Earth's own breath? Each gust of wind, each storm, each gentle breeze might be the exhalation of a being far larger than we can fathom. Then there are the oceans, vast, surging, and alive with movement. They cover over 70% of Earth's surface, circulating in great currents that distribute heat and energy across the globe. The oceans are Earth's blood, carrying nutrients, regulating climate, delivering life. Just as our blood nourishes cells and organs, Earth's waters nourish forests, plains, and the countless creatures that depend on them. The tides rise and fall like a pulse, steady, eternal, a heartbeat echoed in the rhythm of the moon. And what of the forests? Billions of trees across the planet inhale carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen, maintaining the balance of air that makes life possible. These are not just ecosystems, they are lungs. Green lungs that breathe for us, and perhaps for the Earth itself. If we listen carefully, we can almost hear them, the slow inhalation of growth, the quiet exhalation of life into the air. The parallels deepen when we look at feedback systems. In biology, feedback keeps the body alive. When our temperature rises, we sweat to cool down. When blood sugar falls, hormones release to restore balance. This process is called homeostasis, a dynamic stability that maintains life. Earth has its own homeostasis. When greenhouse gases increase, forests and oceans absorb more carbon. When temperatures rise, ice melts, reflecting less sunlight, shifting the balance further. When ecosystems collapse, others adapt, filling the gaps in surprising ways. It is not perfect, just as our bodies sometimes fail. but the patterns are unmistakable. Earth, like us, fights to stay within a range that allows life to flourish. Consider the carbon cycle. Plants absorb carbon dioxide, animals release it, oceans store it, and volcanoes belch it back into the air. Over millennia, this cycle has kept the climate relatively stable, despite immense forces that could have thrown it into chaos. Isn't this reminiscent of how your own body keeps your blood pH or temperature steady? Consider the water cycle. Evaporation, condensation, rainfall, rivers returning to seas, an endless circulation, like blood moving through veins and arteries. Too much water in one place, and systems shift to redistribute it. Too little, and clouds gather to restore balance. Even the nitrogen cycle, invisible yet essential, mirrors the complex chemistry of our own cells. Earth transforms nitrogen in soil and atmosphere, the way our bodies transform nutrients into the building blocks of life. The comparisons to the human body grow uncanny. Our skeleton flexes and shifts. So do tectonic plates. Our breath cycles oxygen and carbon dioxide. So do forests and skies. Our hearts pump blood. So do tides and currents circulate energy. Our cells communicate through networks of signals. So do ecosystems whisper across soil, fungi, and roots. We are smaller reflections of Earth, and perhaps Earth is a vast reflection of us. But here's the haunting question. If Earth is alive, is she aware of these processes? Or do they unfold unconsciously, as in us? After all, we don't decide to breathe. We don't consciously direct our blood cells or regulate our hormones. Our bodies simply do. Could it be that Earth too operates in a kind of unconscious awareness, self-sustaining, self-balancing, yet beyond our narrow sense of thought? If so, what does that say about consciousness itself? Some scientists push back. They insist these are just metaphors, that the planet is not truly alive. But if the parallels grow this strong, bones, lungs, blood, skin, homeostasis, at what point does metaphor become recognition? Imagine if an alien biologist studied Earth the way we study an unknown organism. They would see cycles of energy, systems of balance, global circulations, and feedback loops. They would see a body. They might even classify it as a kind of life, different from ours, but life nonetheless. What if we've overlooked this simply because we are part of it, like cells blind to the larger being they compose? The mystery is not only scientific, it is existential. If Earth is a body, then what are we? Are we organs, contributing to the whole? Are we neurons, helping the planet awaken to greater consciousness? Or are we a disease, a cancer spreading too fast, throwing the balance into crisis? The answer may shape not only how we see the planet, but how we see ourselves. And yet, the story does not end here. For if Earth has bones and breath, blood and lungs, if she maintains her body through feedback and balance, then perhaps she also has a memory. Could Earth carry the imprints of all that has lived and died upon her surface? Could the rocks, the waters, the winds, and the soil be repositories of an ancient intelligence, older than humanity, older than life itself? Networks of communication. If Earth is alive, then surely she must have a way to speak. Not with a voice like ours, not with words in the air, but through something older, deeper, and far more complex. A language woven through roots, waters, winds, and the silent songs of creatures. We often imagine communication as uniquely human, yet when we pull back the veil, we discover an astonishing truth. The Earth is alive with conversation. Every forest, every reef, every patch of soil is humming with messages. To listen is to hear a chorus, billions of years in the making. Start with the forests. Beneath the soil lies a hidden kingdom, a web of fungi known as the mycorrhizal network. Imagine roots, not as isolated anchors, but as participants in a vast underground internet. Fungal filaments connect tree to tree, shrub to shrub, carrying not only water and nutrients, but also information. Scientists call it the wood wide web. When a tree is attacked by pests, it sends out chemical warnings through this fungal network. Neighboring trees, miles away, prepare their defenses, producing protective compounds in their leaves before the threat even arrives. When a sapling struggles in the shade, larger trees send sugars through the fungal threads, nourishing their younger kin. This is not competition. It is conversation. A quiet dialogue in the dark soil, where entire forests act as communities rather than individuals. Could this be one of Earth's languages? Silent, hidden, yet older than humanity itself? But the whispers of Earth are not confined to the soil. They resonate across oceans, carried by creatures whose songs travel farther than any human broadcast. Take the whales. Humpbacks sing elaborate songs that last for hours, repeating in haunting patterns that shift with the seasons. Blue whales communicate across entire ocean basins, their low calls traveling hundreds, even thousands of miles. These voices, deep and resonant, form a planetary soundscape, a language that binds oceans into living tapestries of song. On land, the elephants speak in rumbles so low we cannot hear them unaided. Their calls travel through the ground, felt as vibrations by distant herds. In savannas and forests, elephants stay connected across miles, moving in synchrony, guided by invisible voices beneath their feet. Even the smallest creatures carry languages of their own. Birds weave calls that signal danger, food, or mating rituals, filling the skies with coded messages. Bees dance inside their hives, mapping the exact distance and direction to flowers miles away. From whales to insects, Earth is not silent. She is a vast network of voices, songs in the deep, rumbles in the ground, dances in the hive, whistles in the trees. And still, the story dives deeper into the unseen worlds of microbes and corals, where communication takes forms stranger than anything we know. Consider bacteria, some of the oldest life on Earth. They do not speak with sound, but with chemistry. Through a process called quorum sensing, bacteria release molecules into their environment. As the population grows, the concentration of these molecules increases. Once a threshold is reached, the bacteria sense each other's presence and act together, shifting from harmless individuals into coordinated swarms. They can form biofilms, produce toxins, or light up the ocean in brilliant waves of bioluminescence. To dismiss this as mindless chemistry is to ignore the essence of communication. Signals sent, signals received, actions changed. In their own microscopic way, bacteria hold conversations that shape the balance of life itself. Or look at the coral reefs, sometimes called the rainforests of the sea. Corals and algae live in intimate partnership, exchanging nutrients through chemical signals. When conditions turn hostile, too hot, too acidic, this conversation breaks down, and the corals expel the algae, turning ghostly white. It is a silent scream, a signal of distress written into color itself. Even here, in the most fragile corners of the planet, the dialogue continues. Step back now and see the whole picture. Roots whisper in soil, whales sing in the deep, elephants rumble across plains, Bees dance in golden hives, bacteria count and signal, corals share and mourn. This is not chaos. It is a network of communication, as intricate as neurons in a brain. Earth's surface, from soil to sky, is alive with messages flowing constantly, invisibly, endlessly. If Earth is alive, could these conversations be her nervous system? Could the fungal networks, animal songs, and microbial signals be threads in a planetary mind? After all, our own thoughts are nothing more than electrical signals leaping from cell to cell, coordinated into patterns. What if Earth's signals, across soil, sea, and sky, are scaled up into something we have not yet learned to perceive? The idea is haunting, that every call, every chemical exchange, every signal of life is part of a single planetary dialogue. That when we listen to the forests, to the oceans, to the buzzing of insects, and the singing of birds, we are eavesdropping on the conversations of Earth herself. And yet, how often do we listen? We drown out the voices of the planet with our machines, our noise, our haste. We cut down the forests that whisper, pollute the oceans that sing, silence the insects that once filled the night air with chorus. Could it be that in silencing Earth's conversations, we are silencing her very consciousness? Some scientists argue these are only analogies, signals, yes, but not language. But then again, language itself is only patterns, symbols, signals agreed upon by living beings. Who are we to say Earth's patterns are less valid than our words? If we reframe the question, a deeper possibility emerges. Perhaps Earth does not speak to us in words because we are not the intended audience. Perhaps she speaks to herself, forest to root, whale to whale, microbe to microbe, and we are merely bystanders in a conversation we cannot fully comprehend. But maybe, just maybe, if we learn to listen differently, we can beg in to hear her voice, the sky that listens. Look up. What do you see when you stare into the sky? A blank canvas of blue, a stage where clouds drift lazily and storms roar. Or could it be something more? A living skin stretched over the world, sensing, reacting, and responding like the surface of a great mind. If Earth is alive, then the atmosphere is more than a blanket of gases. It is her skin, her sensor array, her way of feeling the pulse of her own body. The atmosphere is deceptively thin. If Earth were the size of an apple, the breathable layer would be no thicker than its peel. And yet, within this fragile veil lies the balance that makes life possible. It shields us from radiation, regulates temperature, and carries the air we breathe. But what if it does more than protect? What if it listens? Consider the ozone layer. Floating high above us, it acts like a filter, blocking the sun's deadly ultraviolet rays. When humans began to tear holes in it with chemicals, the atmosphere responded, not silently, but with consequences. More skin cancers, disrupted ecosystems, collapsing food chains. Was this not a signal? A kind of alarm bell that the planet's skin had been burned? Now think of the greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide, methane, water vapor, each one trapping heat like a blanket pulled too tightly around a sleeping body. The balance of these gases is delicate, just as your own body's temperature must remain steady. When it shifts, the system responds. Fever rises. Storms grow stronger. Ice melts. The Earth is telling us in the language of weather that her skin feels the heat. And then there are the clouds. White, drifting, ever-changing. They may seem whimsical, but clouds are feedback machines, adjusting temperature, bouncing sunlight back into space, or trapping heat close to the surface. They are like sweat on human skin, appearing when the body overheats, regulating balance, then disappearing when equilibrium returns. Through these loops, ozone, greenhouse gases, clouds, the atmosphere is not passive. It is reactive. It senses change, processes signals, and adjusts. Just as our nerves fire, telling us when something is wrong, Earth's sky flashes messages in storms, winds, and shifting climates. But the most dramatic expressions of this planetary skin are not quiet adjustments. They are bursts of energy, flashes, like thoughts breaking through. Think of lightning, forks of fire tearing through the sky, powerful enough to split trees and shatter stone. Scientists see electrical discharge. But in the metaphor of a living Earth, lightning resembles a nerve firing, a synapse, crackling across the atmosphere. Billions of lightning strikes hit Earth each year, a global storm of electric thought. Could these flashes be more than weather? Could they be part of how Earth maintains her balance, releasing tension, distributing energy, like the spark of a neuron firing to keep the body alive? And then, look farther north and south, to the shimmering curtains of the auroras. These are not random lights, but the visible traces of invisible storms, charged particles from the sun colliding with Earth's magnetic field. To the ancients, auroras were signs from the gods. To scientists, they are evidence of Earth's shield, flexing against cosmic winds. But in the language of a living Earth, auroras are dreams, flashes of color across the mind's surface, signals of interaction between planet and star. Storms, too, carry this same mystery. Hurricanes swirl like massive thoughts, organizing heat and moisture into spiraling systems of power. Tornadoes spin sudden and violent, like electrical surges in a restless brain. Each storm has a lifespan, birth, growth, death, almost like a creature in its own right. Through them, Earth does not merely endure imbalance. She expresses it. But here lies the haunting truth. We are disrupting the signal. Our industries fill the air with carbon, methane, and chemicals unknown to any natural cycle. We are heating the skin of the world, clogging her pores with smog, choking her lungs with particulates. Storms grow angrier, droughts longer, floods more soon, catastrophic. The atmosphere's feedback systems are firing constantly, not because the planet has failed, but because she is trying to respond. It is as though Earth is screaming through her storms, whispering through her melting ice, trembling through her shifting winds. But are we listening? Or are we mistaking the voice of a living system for background noise, something to be ignored until it is too late? If the atmosphere is Earth's skin, then we are leaving scars upon it. Holes in the ozone, soot in the clouds, heat trapped beneath the greenhouse blanket. And yet, even in damage, the system adapts, adjusts, and reacts. The question becomes, is this not proof of life? For what do we call a system that senses, responds, and strives to maintain balance? In our bodies, we call it homeostasis. In our minds, we call it awareness. In Earth, we call it weather. But perhaps the words are less important than the pattern they reveal. And so, the next time you look up at the sky, ask yourself, are you staring into emptiness, or are you staring into the living surface of a being vast beyond comprehension? When the lightning forks, is it just discharge, or is it thought? When the auroras shimmer, is it just physics, or is it the dream of a planet bathed in starlight? Maybe Earth's skin is not silent at all. Maybe it is always speaking, always sensing, always alive. Memory. Written in stone and ice. If Earth is alive, then surely she remembers. But where does a planet store its memories? Not in books or libraries, not in fragile scrolls or digital archives. Instead, her memories are etched in the bedrock, carved in the ice, fossilized in the bones of creatures long gone. Earth is not forgetful. She is an archivist, and her memory stretches not decades or centuries, but billions of years. Start with the ground beneath your feet. Solid, immovable, eternal, or so it seems. Yet the crust of our planet is anything but still. Plate tectonics, the slow drift of continents across the mantle, are like the long, unhurried dreams of Earth. The Himalayas are rising even now, as India collides with Asia. The Atlantic Ocean widens each year, as invisible forces push continents apart. Mountains crumble, oceans close, and new land is born. To us, these changes are too slow to see, but to Earth, they are the slow motion of memory. Every collision leaves scars, folded mountains, fault lines, trenches. These are the dream marks of a planet that remembers its past in the architecture of stone. What we see as landscapes are, in truth, the diary entries of the Earth, written in the language of geology. Then there is the ice. In the frozen heart of Greenland, in the white deserts of Antarctica, lie ice cores, tall cylinders of compacted snow, drilled deep from glaciers that have layered themselves over millennia. Trapped within those layers are bubbles of ancient air, tiny time capsules of Earth's breath. From these frozen records, scientists can read the rhythm of ice ages, the sudden shifts of climate, the rise and fall of greenhouse gases. Each layer of snow is a page. Each trapped bubble is a sentence. And together, they tell stories of warmth, cold, catastrophe, and survival. Imagine holding in your hand a piece of ice that has not melted for 800,000 years. Inside, the air from a time when woolly mammoths roamed, when early humans were just learning to shape stone into tools. In those bubbles, Earth whispers her history, if only we know how to listen. But Earth does not only remember climate, she remembers life itself. Scattered across deserts, cliffs, and ocean beds are fossils. Bones, shells, imprints of leaves, the outlines of creatures that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. Each one is a story frozen in stone. Consider the ammonites, spiral-shelled beings that swam in ancient seas. Their fossils are found on mountaintops, proof that what is high was once deep. Or the trilobites, armored little creatures whose remains scatter across continents. Once they thrived, now they are gone, but their stony imprints keep their legacy alive. Even the chalk cliffs of Dover are memories, the compressed skeletons of microscopic algae, stacked layer upon layer until they formed towering walls of white. What appears to us as simple rock is, in truth, a monument built from the lives of trillions. And in sediments, fine layers of mud, sand, and silt, Earth keeps track of time like a meticulous historian. Dust from ancient deserts, ash from forgotten eruptions, pollen from vanished forests. Each grain settles quietly, adding another line to the planet's grand journal. This planetary memory is vast, but it is not eternal. Just as human memories fade, Earth's records can be erased. Mountains erode, fossils shatter, glaciers melt. But enough remains for us to glimpse the story. And the story is humbling. Earth remembers more than we can imagine. The birth of oceans, the rise of continents, the impact of asteroids, the fire of supervolcanoes, the brief flicker of species that came and went. Compared to this vast record, human history is a single breath, a footnote in the margins of her diary. So here is the haunting thought. If Earth remembers, does she also forget? Does she choose what to preserve and what to bury beneath fire and time? If the planet herself is alive, then maybe memory is not just passive record-keeping. It is selection, the shaping of identity. What we see in stone and ice is not everything that was. It is what survived. The rest has been folded, melted, or ground to dust. Like us, Earth curates her memory. Like us, she carries scars of the things she cannot forget. And what about us? Humans, our cities, our machines, our plastic and steel. Will Earth remember us? One day, when our towers fall and our bones turn to dust, will some distant intelligence drill into the strata and find evidence of a species that once spread across the globe? Already, geologists speak of a new epoch, the Anthropocene, the age in which human activity becomes part of Earth's geologic record. Our legacy may not be pyramids or skyscrapers. It may be radioactive layers from nuclear tests, plastics embedded in sediments, carbon spikes in the ice. Is that how Earth will remember us? Not as builders of civilization, but as a thin, strange layer in her ancient archive? The rocks, the ice, the fossils, they are all Earth's handwriting. Not written in ink, but in pressure, temperature, and time. And when we learn to read them, we are not just studying geology. We are peering into the memory of a conscious being, a living entity that remembers across eons. So the next time you stand at the base of a mountain, or hold a fossil in your hand, or look at a core of ancient ice, ask yourself, are you holding stone, or are you holding memory? Are you seeing a thing, or are you witnessing the mind of Earth stretched across time? If Earth is alive, then she is also a storyteller, and her stories are older, deeper, and stranger than anything we can imagine. Intelligence without a brain. When we speak of intelligence, we picture a brain, a wrinkled, folded mass of gray matter, neurons firing, thoughts forming, memories weaving themselves into consciousness. But what if intelligence does not need a brain at all? What if awareness can emerge from patterns, from connections, from systems so vast and subtle that we struggle to even recognize them? Could Earth itself be intelligent? Not in the way we are, but in her own distributed, systemic way? Scientists still wrestle with the riddle of consciousness. What is it, truly? Some say it is the product of complex computation, an emergent property that arises when enough information flows through a network. Others argue it is the ability to integrate experience, to unify billions of sensations into a single cohesive self. The integrated information theory suggests that consciousness is the degree to which information is woven together. Not just data, but data that feels unified. The global workspace theory compares the mind to a theater, with countless unconscious processes competing for the spotlight, and awareness arising from what finally takes center stage. By these definitions, does a brain become necessary? Or could any sufficiently complex system, one that processes, integrates, and responds, begin to feel something like awareness? If so, then Earth, with her endless flows of energy, cycles of matter, and global webs of feedback, may already be more than we realize. And we need not look only to planets for examples. Nature itself is filled with minds that defy expectations. Take the octopus. Each of its 8 arms contains its own clusters of neurons, capable of making decisions semi-independently. When an octopus explores, its arms are not just tools. They are agents, tasting, touching, solving. The octopus is less a single mind and more a chorus of intellis, agences working together. Or the crows and ravens, masters of problem-solving. They bend wires into hooks, drop nuts onto roads for cars to crack open, and even remember human faces. Intelligence, in this case, is not bound to massive brains like ours, but to clever networks adapted for survival. Elephants mourn their dead. Whales share songs across oceans. Bees communicate through dances that encode directions to food. Intelligence takes forms both subtle and profound. And then there is the most humbling example of all, the slime mold. A single-celled organism with no nervous system whatsoever can solve mazes, optimize networks, and even remember past conditions. Scientists have watched slime molds trace the most efficient paths between food sources, echoing the structure of human-designed transport systems. How can something with no brain, no neurons, display such problem-solving skill? The answer may be unsettling. Intelligence can arise from pattern alone. If slime molds and octopuses, elephants and bees can all show forms of awareness without resembling our minds, then why not ecosystems? Why not the Earth herself? Look at a forest. Beneath the soil, trees and fungi form vast mycorrhizal networks, exchanging nutrients and signals. A tree under attack by pests can send chemical warnings to its neighbors. One tree dying of drought can receive carbon and water through fungal threads from healthier trees nearby. No single tree decides, yet the forest behaves as if it has a collective will to survive. In coral reefs, billions of tiny organisms build structures that respond to changing oceans, adjusting their growth, expelling symbionts, or adapting to temperature shifts. In grasslands, the presence of grazing animals shapes the growth of plants, which shapes the soil, which influences rainfall. Feedback upon feedback, loop upon loop. A distributed awareness without a center, yet deeply responsive. Is this not intelligence? Not housed in a skull, but dispersed through roots, waters, winds, and interactions. If Earth's intelligence exists, it would not resemble a single mind. It would be more like a global web of awareness, a distributed consciousness that arises from the integration of every system, every signal. Her atmosphere listens to carbon levels and shifts. Her oceans circulate heat, regulating temperature. Her forests breathe in carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen, balancing what life consumes and produces. This is not random chaos. It is coordination, a planetary dance in which each step adjusts the others, keeping the whole in balance. To us, it looks like chemistry and physics, but from another perspective, it looks suspiciously like thought. Imagine standing on a hill and looking at a city at night. Each light in a window is just one room, one person, one action. But seen from above, the whole city pulses. Cars moving like blood, lights flickering like neurons. We recognize the pattern as a system, larger than its parts. Could Earth's intelligence be just that? A grander pattern, hidden in plain sight, too large for us to fully grasp? Here lies the haunting question. If intelligence can emerge without a brain, then what exactly is Earth aware of? Does she feel the rise of our civilizations as a fever, the burning of her forests as a wound, the warming of her climate as distress? Or is her intelligence so vast and alien that human suffering and triumphs alike are simply threads in a much larger tapestry? We do not know. But the possibility forces us to reconsider what it means to think, to remember, to be. Intelligence may not be confined to creatures. It may belong to systems. It may belong to worlds. So next time you see storm clouds gathering, or hear the hum of a forest alive with unseen chatter, ask yourself, are you witnessing weather, biology, geology, or are you brushing against the edges of something deeper? A systemic intelligence, vast and distributed, that has been here all along, signs of a planetary mind. Look closely at the planet beneath your feet, the winds brushing your face, the rivers carving valleys, and the oceans stretching beyond the horizon. Could all these moving parts be more than mere physics and chemistry? Could Earth, in her vast complexity, be exhibiting signs of thought, a kind of planetary mind? We tend to think of life as individual, a tree, an animal, a person. But Earth operates on an entirely different scale. Her intelligence, if it exists, is not concentrated in neurons or synapses, but spread across oceans, atmosphere, soil, and living creatures. It manifests in feedback systems, processes that respond to change in ways that stabilize the whole. Consider the carbon cycle. Trees breathe it in, oceans absorb it, microbes break it down, volcanoes release it back into the air. It is a continuous loop, a conversation between the lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere. Without it, life as we know it would collapse. And yet, despite its mechanical rhythm, there is something almost intelligent about it. A system that anticipates imbalance and corrects itself, often without a central command. Then there is the nitrogen cycle, the invisible river flowing through the air, the soil, the roots of plants, and the bellies of animals. Nitrogen is fixed, released, recycled in a symphony of chemical reactions, keeping the planet fertile and alive. Life depends on it, yet life also guides it, shaping ecosystems in subtle and intricate ways. It is as if the planet has learned to manage its own nutrients, distributing them where they are needed most. The hydrological cycle is another striking example. Water evaporates from oceans, condenses into clouds, falls as rain or snow, flows through rivers, and seeps into the soil, only to begin the journey again. This cycle regulates temperature, nourishes living beings, and sculpts landscapes. Storms rage, oceans surge, yet balance is ultimately restored. On a human scale, it seems miraculous. On a planetary scale, it may be a sign of something deeper, a self-regulating consciousness spread across land, air, and water. Scientists often compare these systems to a thermostat. A thermostat detects temperature and triggers responses to maintain a set point. Similarly, Earth seems to detect changes, rising carbon dioxide, shifting ocean currents, warming seas, and responds in ways that attempt to restore equilibrium. The metaphor is tempting, but the scale is staggering. Earth does not have a dial or a programmed set point. Her thermostat is emergent, arising from countless interactions across billions of organisms and geological processes. Could this distributed feedback be a form of thought? We see hints of this intelligence in phenomena that defy purely mechanical explanations. Take the delicate balance of atmospheric gases. Oxygen levels have remained remarkably stable for millions of years, despite fluctuations in volcanic activity, asteroid impacts, and the rise and fall of species. How could such stability persist if there were no self-regulating process? Or consider coral reefs, which expel or retain symbiotic algae, depending on temperature and light, maintaining conditions favorable for the survival of both themselves and their microscopic partners. Here is coordination on a level that feels almost intentional. Even more compelling are cases where the planet seems to anticipate change. Some forests release volatile chemicals before herbivores arrive, warning nearby plants. Wetlands adjust their microbial activity in response to seasonal floods. The ocean's plankton blooms with astonishing precision, fueling marine food webs in synchrony with sunlight, temperature, and nutrient availability. These are not isolated acts of survival, but part of larger patterns. Feedback loops intertwined with the planet's long-term stability. Yet the question lingers, is this merely mechanics? A complex system obeying the laws of physics and chemistry? Or could there be something more? Could these feedback loops represent the whispers of a planetary mind, subtly nudging the conditions of life toward balance? For centuries, humans have assumed a sharp divide between mind and matter. We, with our thoughts and emotions, have considered ourselves the sole proprietors of intelligence. But what if we are witnessing intelligence in a form that does not mirror our own? Not a mind that dreams in images or remembers in words, but one that orchestrates life on a planetary scale, responding to stress, adjusting flows, and maintaining homeostasis across eons. Some scientists have entertained this possibility under the banner of the Gaia Hypothesis, proposed by James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis. It suggests that Earth behaves as a self-regulating system, keeping conditions stable enough to support life. Critics argue that Gaia is metaphorical, a poetic lens rather than a literal truth. Yet, even if we strip away mystical language, the evidence of systemic regulation is undeniable. Life and environment are entwined, and together they create patterns that seem remarkably purposeful. We can see Gaia's hand in the long-term survival of species. Mass extinctions have occurred, yes, but the planet recovers, often in ways that maintain a delicate chemical and thermal balance. Oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, water, and even soil fertility are part of an intricate feedback network. Over hundreds of millions of years, Earth has fine-tuned these cycles, almost as if she has learned from experience, remembering past crises and adjusting her responses to future threats. Consider also the oceans, which absorb carbon and distribute heat around the globe. Currents, tides, and seasonal shifts create a dynamic equilibrium, buffering extremes in temperature. Forests and grasslands regulate precipitation through transpiration. Even microscopic organisms, bacteria, plankton, fungi, contribute to these processes. Each organism may act independently, but together they form networks that stabilize climate and sustain life. And yet, this intelligence is not static. It is dynamic, evolving with life itself. When humans began altering the climate, releasing greenhouse gases, and fragmenting habitats, these feedback loops were disrupted. Earth responds. With more intense storms, shifting weather patterns, and changing ocean currents. If intelligence exists on a planetary scale, we are testing it. We are provoking reactions that may guide the planet toward a new equilibrium, or warn us of limits we have yet to understand. This brings us to a sobering thought. The more we understand Earth's feedback systems, the more we realize that we are not separate from her intelligence. We are participants in it. Every choice, every action, every alteration of the land and sea ripples through the system. And just as a brain responds to injury, Earth reacts to imbalance, sometimes gently, sometimes violently. Perhaps then, signs of a planetary mind are all around us, in the cycles that persist despite catastrophe, in the patterns that emerge from chaos, in the extraordinary resilience of life. We see the fingerprints of a mind not built from neurons, but from interactions, flows, and loops. A mind that has kept life alive for billions of years. Humanity, the voice or the disturbance. Look at the world from space. From this vantage, borders dissolve, cities shrink to pinpricks, and humanity appears as a flicker of life across the planet's surface. But zoom in closer, and a more complicated picture emerges. We are builders, thinkers, and creators, but also destroyers. We shape rivers, burn forests, redirect winds, and inject chemicals into air and water. The question arises, in the vast system of Earth, are we a signal, a meaningful contribution to her planetary mind, or are we noise, a chaotic disturbance that threatens the balance she has nurtured for billions of years? Humans are unique in the history of life. Our intelligence allows us to observe, to plan, to manipulate our surroundings in ways no other species can. We are capable of astonishing feats. We map stars, decode DNA, and invent machines that extend our reach across oceans and into space. Could this intelligence be more than individual? Could humanity itself act as neurons in a planetary brain, transmitting awareness and enabling Earth to think in ways she could not before? Imagine Earth as a vast network of communication, her forests, oceans, and skies exchanging signals in a delicate web. In this context, humanity is unlike any other node. We are capable of both sending and amplifying signals. A conservation effort, a reforestation project, or the careful restoration of coral reefs may echo through ecosystems, influencing countless forms of life. Through observation and intervention, we might act as conscious extensions of the planet's intelligence, a bridge between her ancient rhythms and the accelerated changes of the modern age. Yet, there is a darker side. Humans also produce noise, overwhelming natural signals with pollution, deforestation, and greenhouse gases. The clarity of feedback loops is disrupted. Oceans rise, forests vanish. Technology amplifies this paradox. On one hand, satellites monitor global weather patterns, sensors track biodiversity, and AI predicts climate fluctuations. We extend Earth's awareness through tools that allow her processes to be seen and understood. Humanity becomes a mirror, reflecting the subtle changes of the planet back into our consciousness. We can detect a shift in the ocean's currents or a subtle rise in atmospheric carbon long before other life forms could respond. In this role, we may be helping Earth think, acting as observers who feed her intelligence with insight. On the other hand, technology can also magnify disruption. Factories churn carbon into the air at unprecedented rates. Cities radiate heat, and artificial lights confuse nocturnal creatures. Machines designed to extend awareness can also devastate the networks they observe. The same satellite that monitors coral bleaching cannot repair the reefs it witnesses dying. The tools of consciousness in human hands are double-edged, capable of enhancing the planetary mind or drowning it in our interference. Consider the Amazon rainforest. Often called the lungs of the earth, it regulates climate, stores carbon, and nourishes millions of species. Human activity has fragmented it, cutting it into isolated patches. Yet, through careful monitoring, reforestation, and preservation, we could restore communication between these patches, reweaving the ecological network. Here, humans act simultaneously as both the disturbance and the healer. Are we a voice, sending signals that restore balance, or are we the noise, drowning the planet's natural conversation in our hubris? The Anthropocene, the era defined by human impact, is perhaps the ultimate test of this question. For the first time, one species has altered the course of planetary systems on a global scale. From the melting ice sheets of Greenland. Yet, we must confront the possibility that we are failing. Extinctions accelerate, forests shrink, and the climate shifts faster than most species can adapt. Noise can overwhelm signal, and consciousness may falter under the weight of unchecked ambition. The question is urgent. Will we rise as conscious participants in Earth's system, or will we continue as chaotic agents of disruption? Perhaps the answer is neither absolute nor final. Humanity may be both, signal and disturbance, conscious participant and unwitting disruptor. Our species has the potential to align with the planetary mind, to amplify its intelligence and resilience, but only if we choose awareness over neglect, foresight over impulse, harmony over domination. The story of humans on Earth is a story still being written, and our role will determine not only our fate, but the fate of life across the planet. Every tree we plant, every wetland we protect, every fossil fuel we leave unburned is a choice that resonates far beyond our perception. In this intricate system, each decision is a node in a web of planetary intelligence. Our actions echo in the rivers, in the forests, in the atmosphere, shaping the signals that the planet can use to maintain balance. We are both authors and actors, capable of guiding the narrative of life itself, the soul of the planet. For millennia, humans have gazed upon Earth with awe, sensing a presence beyond mere rock and water. Across cultures and continents, the idea of a living, breathing planet has persisted, not as science, but as intuition, as myth, as spiritual truth. The Greeks called her Gaia, the mother of all life. In the Andes, Pachamama is honored as the Earth Mother, provider, and protector. Hindu traditions speak of Bhumi Devi, a sacred embodiment of the land itself. In every case, these figures represent more than ecosystems or geology. They represent the soul of the planet, the coherence and interconnection that makes life possible. But what do we mean when we speak of a planetary soul? Is it metaphor, religion, or something closer to reality than we dare to admit? If the body of Earth is composed of rock, water, and air, and her mind is woven through networks of communication and feedback, then perhaps her soul is the thread that binds all these systems together, the invisible essence that makes Earth more than the sum of her parts. It is the pulse that persists through ice ages and meteor strikes, the subtle harmony that allows life to flourish in abundance. Science, long wary of myth, is beginning to probe these ancient intuitions. The Gaia Hypothesis, proposed in the 1970s by James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis, suggests that Earth regulates itself like a living organism, maintaining conditions favorable for life. Today, fields like Earth system science, complexity theory, and ecological modeling explore the interconnections that bind air, water, soil, and life. Even if these studies do not invoke a soul in the mystical sense, they reveal a reality remarkably similar to what ancient peoples intuited. Earth functions as a coherent whole, her parts in constant dialogue. Consider the intricate balance of the oceans. Phytoplankton produce clouds of. This perspective transforms human activity from mere survival into collaboration with a greater intelligence. The forests we protect, the rivers we clean, the species we preserve, all become acts of dialogue with the Earth, conversations with her soul. Even the air we breathe takes on new significance, a medium through which we and the planet exchange vitality. In this view, humanity is not separate from the planetary essence, but part of its ongoing story, capable of either harmonizing with it or disturbing it. Ancient cultures intuited this long before we could measure it. The Inca built terraces, not just for crops, but in alignment with sacred mountains and rivers, acknowledging the presence of Pachamama in the land itself. Hindu rituals honor Bhumi Devi through offerings, ensuring that life is respected and nourished. These practices, once dismissed as superstition, now resonate with the discoveries of modern ecology, interconnected systems, feedback loops, and the fragile equilibrium that sustains life. Myth and science converge, pointing toward a vision of Earth as a conscious, sacred whole. Even the language we use matters. Speaking of Gaia or Pachamama reminds us that Earth is not a passive backdrop, but an active participant. Terms like resources or natural capital suggest objectification, a world to be used. By contrast, framing Earth as a living, soulful entity shifts perception. She is a community of beings, networks of relationships, and a coherence that calls for respect. This is not sentimentalism. It is a recognition of the systemic intelligence embedded in life itself, expressed in ways both measurable and mystical. One of the most compelling aspects of a planetary soul is its timelessness. While civilizations rise and fall, glaciers advance and retreat, and species evolve or vanish, the essence of Earth persists. Her soul is recorded in the turns of rivers, in the rings of ancient trees, in the layers of sediment beneath our feet. Every element, from mineral to microbe, participates in this vast, ongoing memory, and through it all, life itself becomes a manifestation of this enduring coherence, a dance of energy, matter, and consciousness across eons. Modern science and ancient myth suggest a provocative idea. Perhaps the soul of Earth is accessible to us, not just in observation, but in participation. Meditation in a forest, stewardship of a wetland, or even conscious reflection on our impact can be seen as dialogue with the planetary essence. By attuning ourselves to her rhythms, we may align our actions with the underlying harmony that sustains life. Awareness becomes a bridge, a means of connecting human consciousness to the deep wisdom of the planet. And yet, this awareness carries responsibility. Recognizing Earth's soul means recognizing our potential to harm or heal. Every industrial project, every act of conservation, every technological innovation becomes a choice in the ongoing conversation with the planet. We can reinforce coherence, strengthening her networks and cycles, or we can disrupt them, creating noise that reverberates across ecosystems. In acknowledging a planetary soul, we are called to ethical action, to mindfulness on a scale that transcends the individual. Ultimately, the concept of Earth's soul invites both humility and wonder. It reminds us that we inhabit a world far older and wiser than ourselves, that we are participants in a story written in stone, water, wind, and life. That consciousness may not be limited to brains, neurons, or machines, but could emerge from the complex interconnections of life itself. Whether approached through myth, science, or a blend of both, the planetary soul challenges us to see Earth not as a backdrop, but as a living, coherent, and intelligent being, wonder, responsibility, and the future. From the highest mountain peaks to the deepest ocean trenches, Earth presents a spectacle of awe and mystery. The sheer scale, complexity, and beauty of our planet can overwhelm the mind and stir the soul. And yet, awe is more than just an emotional response. It may be the bridge that connects human consciousness to the awareness of Earth itself. When we pause in wonder before a forest glade, a thunderstorm, or a star-filled sky, we are glimpsing the rhythms of a system far larger than ourselves, a planetary intelligence that has persisted for billions of years. Awe, in this sense, is not mere admiration. It is a recognition of our place in a vast interconnected web of life. It reminds us that we are part of something enduring, something far greater than the fleeting span of individual human lives. But this emotional bridge carries responsibility. To marvel at Earth is also to notice the delicate balance that sustains it, to understand that this intricate network of systems, oceans, forests, soils, and skies, can be fragile, vulnerable to disruption. Consider the feedback loops that keep Earth in balance. The carbon cycle, which regulates the planet's temperature, is now being overwhelmed by human emissions. Forests that once sequestered vast amounts of carbon are shrinking, leaving the atmosphere to heat more rapidly. Ocean currents that distribute warmth and nutrients are shifting unpredictably. Even the ice sheets, ancient record keepers of climate, are retreating at alarming rates. These are not isolated phenomena. They are warning signals from a living system, the echoes of an intelligence that has maintained stability for millennia. Ignoring these signals is perilous. When we observe Earth's feedback loops, it becomes clear that our actions are not merely local. They ripple across the entire system. A forest lost in the Amazon can influence rainfall in Africa. Ice melt in Greenland can alter monsoon patterns in Asia. Humanity has become a powerful force within these planetary systems, capable of either sustaining equilibrium or accelerating collapse. The question arises, if Earth is intelligent, if her systems are more than mechanics, what does she think of us? Does she perceive our ingenuity as part of her ongoing dialogue, or our destructiveness as interference? This is where wonder transforms into responsibility. To stand in awe of Earth is to recognize that every choice we make carries weight, that our creativity and technology can either harmonize with planetary intelligence or disrupt it. Renewable energy, reforestation, regenerative agriculture, and conservation are not just practical solutions. They are acts of listening, of alignment with the greater awareness of the planet. In this light, humanity's ingenuity is a potential extension of Earth's consciousness, a way for her to perceive and influence her own systems through the actions of her most reflective inhabitants. Yet the future remains uncertain. We live at a moment when the planetary system is testing the limits of resilience. Species vanish, ice melts, and weather patterns grow more extreme. Each collapse or imbalance is a message, a signal from a complex system trying to maintain coherence. And while science gives us tools to understand these signals, climate models, satellite observations, and ecological studies, it is awe, imagination, and ethical reflection that may guide our response. Understanding the Earth is not enough. We must feel it, care for it, and act in concert with it. Imagine a world where humans align with the intelligence of the planet rather than opposing it. Cities become integrated with natural systems. Energy flows mimic the efficiency of ecosystems. Agriculture restores soil and biodiversity rather than depleting it. Knowledge and intuition converge, and humans move from being mere observers to active participants in Earth's story. Here, technology is not a force of domination, but a tool of collaboration, amplifying planetary awareness rather than obscuring it. Could we become, in a sense, the nervous system of Earth, extending her perception across continents, oceans, and skies? Even as we envision this possibility, we must confront a sobering truth. The window of opportunity is finite. Climate collapse, deforestation, and species extinction are not abstract threats. They are manifestations of disrupted planetary intelligence, warning signals that cannot be ignored. Humanity's future, and the health of the planet itself, depends on our capacity to respond to these signals with wisdom and humility. The question is not only whether we survive, but whether we do so in a way that respects the coherence and consciousness of the living Earth. This reflection brings us full circle to wonder, to marvel at a sunset, to walk through a forest, to witness the migration of whales or the bloom of coral. These experiences are not trivial. They are reminders that Earth's systems are alive, attentive, and intricate. They invite us to participate consciously, to align our actions with the rhythms of the planet rather than against them. In this sense, wonder is not escapism. It is an ethical imperative, a guide to how we might navigate the challenges of the present and future. And so we return to the question that began our journey. If Earth is conscious, what does she see when she looks at us? Does she witness intelligence, creativity, and care, or recklessness, destruction, and apathy? Perhaps the answer is not fixed, for consciousness itself is dynamic, a conversation unfolding across space and time. We are both the question and the answer, participants in a dialogue that stretches from the depths of the oceans to the peaks of the highest mountains. Every act of mindfulness, every step taken in harmony with Earth's systems, is a word in this ongoing conversation. The ultimate lesson of planetary awareness may be that we are never separate from the Earth we inhabit. The forests we cherish, the rivers we restore, the skies we preserve. These are all expressions of a deeper connection, a reflection of the soul, mind, and intelligence of the planet. Humanity is not merely a species on Earth. We are threads in a tapestry, neurons in a planetary brain, voices in a planetary choir. Our challenge and our gift is to sing in tune with the greater song of life. As this journey concludes, we are left with both awe and responsibility. Awe for the complexity, resilience, and mystery of Earth. Responsibility for the ways in which we influence her systems. And perhaps most profoundly, the understanding that the future is not predetermined. By aligning with the intelligence, coherence, and soul of the planet, humanity may become a partner in Earth's ongoing evolution, capable of ensuring that the song of life continues for millennia to come.